Well, you were recommended by our architect. He'd said that he had done a number of projects with you. And when we met Mark and the team, we were very impressed with their professionalism, the confidence they had that they could do the job that we wanted done, and the timescale that we wanted it done in. Well, I think the main concern was the complexity of the project, because we wanted an extension that was not only to the rear but to the side, so it needed the corner of the house taking out. It's probably the biggest investment, short of buying a house, that we'd ever made, so we were very nervous about that. I've got quite a severe disability, so I was also concerned about whether there would be sufficient awareness of the issues that I needed built into the scheme. But again, once we'd sat down and talked to the team about that, we felt reassured that they were the best builders to do the job that we wanted done. Well, we were understandably nervous, and there's no doubt that it was a 16-week project and it caused a huge disruption to our lives. And probably if we'd known in advance what was involved, we might have had second thoughts about whether to proceed. But having taken the step to go forward, we were actually delighted with the ease with which the overall project was undertaken, and the fact that it didn't ultimately have a huge impact on our lives or on the lives of our neighbours, which was a big concern to us. I think knowing that ultimately the job would be done well and would be hugely to our benefit in terms of me being able to get around the ground floor of the house, because effectively what we've turned a 4-bedroomed house into a large bungalow with 4 bedrooms upstairs, and it means that I can live downstairs without any difficulty, and that's made a huge impact on my enjoyment of being at home. No, I had a lot of concerns. I had a lot of concerns about the garden, because it was a tiered garden, and the further back the extension went, the bigger the impact that would have. I was concerned about the structural engineering work, because Linda was very keen that the extension didn't look like an extension, so we needed quite large steel beams, and I was always a bit uneasy about how that was going to be undertaken. But again, those fears weren't realised. It actually went very well. No, I didn't have any objections. I think we sat down, we agreed what work was needed to be done. There were safeguards built in through the contract. We knew that we'd be retaining some money at the end of the project, so that if we weren't satisfied or there were some snagging issues, that there was that safeguard built in. Once we've met the people who would be working with us, we felt really quite happy that we'd made the right decision. Well, I think the biggest benefit is the ability for me to be able to get around the house without any difficulty. Everybody who comes into the house, particularly those who knew it as it was, have been very impressed with it. It's got a real wow factor. I mean, effectively, we've turned an ordinary 4-bedroom house into, I suppose, what estate agents would call a desirable residence. It's a lovely house to live in. And I suppose the third thing, which we hadn't really given a lot of thought to, was all the little things that made the difference. Even just simple things like bringing the fence down alongside the kitchen window so that we'd look out on the woods rather than onto a fence. Mm-hmm. Just things. I mean, we were really worried about the big things, but the people who were doing the work had an eye to the small things, and that made all the difference. So in the kitchen, for instance, all the fitments, it all blends in extremely well. The landscaping was done, the ramping up to the doors was done in a very kind of sympathetic way. It doesn't look unusual. And that really was a huge benefit to us, because we've got no experience of building work. So we didn't really know how big a difference those small things could make. Well, I would say that the company is very professional in the way that it undertakes the building work. The standards of work that are undertaken are extremely high. The lifetime guarantee is a huge reassurance if you're investing a lot of money in building work. I think the size of the company is a great asset, because it meant, for instance, that when the 6 metre steel beam was being brought to the house, because we're in a cul-de-sac, the firm they used 8 men to lift it rather than bring a crane, because that just wouldn't have been practical in a small cul-de-sac. Towards the end of the project, when they were concerned that they might not meet the timescale, they could draft more people in. So we just knew we were working with a company that had the flexibility to be able to deliver what they said they would. And that they instilled in us the confidence that it could be done to the standard that we expected, and with the outcome that we wanted. I don't think so. The only other thing, when I say about the small things, for instance, we were very worried about the neighbours, because it was a 16-week project. We live at the end of a small cul-de-sac. Pitchers wrote to each of the neighbours, saying not to complain to Linda and I if there was a problem, but to ring them up. All the neighbours commented, what tidy builders. I think at the end of the day, whoever was in charge for that day made sure that the site was left in a tidy state. They were very sympathetic when it came to the contractors delivering. They made sure that not more than one arrived at the same time, so there was never any problems of neighbours being able to access the close. And at the end of the project, the neighbours commented to us, and we got on very well with them. We didn't want to lose their goodwill, that they were amazed at how well the work had been done.